Renzo.
Hi, Maria.
Hi. Right. We have to say hi and say this is part of just a Spanish phrase
That's
before I
right.
ask you the question I want to ask
Oh,
you,
I know
right?
you can't wait. But yes, this is just a Spanish phrase. Thank you for listening to another episode where we explore Spanish idioms, tell you about their origin, their background, and a little extra.
Okay.
So
Can I ask you the question
Yeah,
now?
give me the little extra
It's
now.
kind of a provocative question.
I would expect nothing less.
But I want you to really answer to me with honesty.
Okay.
Where do you get your information nowadays? What are your sources of information nowadays?
Okay. I'll be honest. I run into a lot of headlines, things that pique my interest first on Reddit.
That is not crazy to me. I think it's one of the few sources that I think are advertising free, which gives them credibility.
Well, that changed in the last few years. Now they do have advertising. But aside from that, and yes, advertising complicates things, to say the least. But I do try to be responsible with that, and I don't trust everything I see on there because it is a crowdsourced platform. Everybody posts, not unlike other social media platforms. It is people, users that bring the information there, post, and then comment and build out the content with, of course, lots of links to other sources. So
I agree, but when it comes to recommendations of restaurants or places, etc., it's usually very reliable.
Oh yeah, of course.
More than other algorithms that if that restaurant, for example, is paying an ad, then they're going to be shown first than the other one that is not paying. So Reddit that's at least is honest opinions from all sorts of people.
And then from there, I try to compare sources, and so I end up getting news from a kind of a big pool. I like BBC, I like the New York Times and the Atlantic. I like News in Slow Spanish, of course.
Of course, this is our host podcast.
Yeah.
We are the companion podcast of News in Slow Spanish, where every week we have news stories in slow Spanish so you can practice Spanish conversation.
A little bit of shameless self-promotion there. But News in Slow Spanish is great. And of course, we're responsible with where we source our news for that as well.
But let's go to the sentence of today, because my question came because we have a very, very popular expression in Spanish that says, me lo contó un pajarito.
Oh, I see where you're going with that. Now I understand your question. Yes, me lo contó un pajarito. Literally, also an English idiom, a little bird told me.
Exactly. And it is very interesting to see how many people believe in, say, pajarito, because finally, me lo contó un pajarito is a little bit of like a rumor, like I heard it through the grapevine, maybe.
Yeah, that's another
I heard
another
it somewhere.
It's a way to, so the way to use this expression, it's a way to tell you something without revealing my source. So it lends itself, of course, to gossip, to rumor. And I see why you asked me where I get my news, because nowadays the line between rumor and gossip and news gets blurred more and more each day.
Exactly. We are surrounded by pajaritos as sources of information. And before we dive into the origin of the expression, I must confess, lately, one of my sources of information has been the show South Park.
Wow. Well, I'm not that surprised. They have been uniquely on top of current events for, I don't know, over 20 years. And because they're able to produce their episodes so quickly, their content is really
there's actually a fascinating documentary about how they produce each episode, and it's nerve-wracking. It's like a thriller. They don't they don't go with the first idea, of course, and it's fascinating. I would suggest you look it up. But yes, South Park, this season is season 27.
27
and
years.
It's always on point, and they have been like hilarious and like they don't forgive anybody, it's
no one is safe.
No one is safe.
Right.
Exactly.
No side is
No side is safe, which is kind of refreshing.
Okay, so what kind of news have you been getting from South
Well,
Park?
of course, you need to know what's going on in the world to even laugh, to understand South Park. But some of the news, like for example, they had Christine Noem. She was portrayed in episode 2 of season 27, and she suddenly grabs a gun and starts shooting every dog that is around. It's like, where in the world is this coming from? And after I finished the episode, I realized apparently she did confess that she killed a dog once, and I don't want to go too deep into that because it's too sad. I love animals, but that's how I learned about it, through South Park. I was like, oh my God, now South Park is my source of information.
Yeah, but that's true. So that wasn't misinformation. That's Kristi Noem, the current Secretary of Homeland Security. I remember back when this was still the election season, before the election, and she was emerging as a political figure. The shooting of the dog was used as a way to promote herself as someone who can do tough things. This was a dog that needed to be put down, and she did it herself. That was her part of her campaign.
We
for
could
her
debate for
character.
hours about that, so let's not go there. But yeah,
wise choice.
Me lo dijo un pajarito. South Park was the one who told me about
that.
Okay,
so in this example, South Park is el pajarito, the little bird who told you about this, and then you dug deeper, right? But what about situations where me lo dijo un pajarito, a little bird told me, and then people just take that information at face value? They just believe it without doing their due diligence.
And well, that is a main source of misinformation, which is obviously so dangerous. So that's many influencers who do not check their sources. I still debate with my friends who believe more in a single influencer than in a media. They say the media are controlled. It's like, yes, the media have agendas, of course. Every information source might have an agenda. But at least if you're a journalist from the Wall Street Journal or for the New York Times and you publish something, is your name on the line. So you have to fact check it with 3 different sources before you even dare to publish it. So that's why I still trust the media more than a random influencer who says anything.
Yeah.
And of course, before that anything, he can say a truth before, a truth after, and then in the middle, boom, any conspiracy, any craziness without the need to fact check it. And whose name is on the line? Nobody. He's not going to lose his job at a prestigious newspaper.
So, me lo contó un pajarito can generate a lead, but a responsible journalist has to investigate that lead. Something that just happened in the last few days is that Donald Trump wants to fire one of the governors of the Federal Reserve, Lisa Cook, based on allegations of fraud. But these are not confirmed. It's basically something a little bird told him. A little bird said, "Se lo contó un pajarito," that this member of the board of the Federal Reserve is guilty of fraud and is enough to fire her.
Wow.
It's a move, a political move of convenience.
Yeah. But let's we're running out of time and we still haven't discussed the origin.
Yes, thank you. And I have it right here. This one is interesting because I think about, and I've always thought this, me lo contó un pajarito. A little bird told me. The phrase itself, it's so cute. You think of a little bird. Innocent, exactly. But looking at the origin, it's actually very serious. And you have to go way back to the Bible. The Bible, as usual, which is the source of so many expressions. So in the Old Testament, specifically Ecclesiastes, and I hope I'm...
Ecclesiastes
in Spanish.
I've never pronounced that word in English. This is the first time ever. So Ecclesiastes to me in Spanish always.
But we'll do it in English. In chapter 10, verse 20, it says, "Bird of the air will carry your voice." And it was a verse that was warning against gossip. It was basically saying, watch out, don't speak ill of your leaders. In this case, I think it was a king.
Wow.
Because the things that you say, the things that you think might be carried in the wind by a bird and land on other ears that you don't want them to hear what you said.
Wow, that's
so
very
it was a
interesting.
warning. I find that fascinating because, so this originates in the Bible. Hundreds of years later, by the 16th century, this was becoming part of popular culture, and there was a mention by a satirist, Jonathan Swift. Here it is. In 1711, wrote what we now know as the modern version of that, "A little bird say so." I heard a little bird say so. And what I find so interesting is how this warning against gossip in the Bible, over hundreds of years, became this playful way for us to talk about gossip, to talk about rumor. Because that's how I've always used this expression. Me lo contó un pajarito. It's a playful way of admitting that, this is gossip, this is rumor, but I want to tell you anyway.
Exactly. And I wonder if Twitter, the icon comes from, or even the name comes from that.
Well, sadly, it's now called X.
Exactly.
But in the golden days of Twitter, yeah, that probably had some influence.
Well, that is for another show, because
Exactly.
we ran out of time. But thank you so much for listening.
And me lo contó un pajarito, a little bird told me that you can come back next week to hear more expressions.
But don't believe too much in birds. But we will be here. That's true.
We will be here.
Are telling you, not a little bird.
You can trust that.
Adios.
Bye.